Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. I unfortunately teased one of our bar talk topics. We'll be talking about that later on. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. I am your host, Marc Williams, and eager to see, is there another coach that'll win a President's Trophy with not two, but three different teams, one of them being the New York Rangers? We'll find that out soon enough with the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Volkowski.
So Marc starts off the show with a gaffe. That's not. It's so on cue for you, but I mean, congratulations to the Rangers for being the first team to clinch the playoff spot. That's the first step in the process, and congrats to Artemi Panarin becoming the 7th player in Rangers history to score 100 points in a season, and he's still going. And he may even, if things go right, he can record the second highest scoring season in Rangers history if he can break the 110 point mark. So,
all right, Phil, you mentioned 7 players. He's the 7th to score 100 points as a New York Ranger. Name the other 6 if you can.
Okay, so Jean Rattel,
1,
Nick Hadfield,
2,
Mike Rogers, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, and Jaromir Jagr.
There you go. And unfortunately, we are not joined by our Islanders correspondent, Anthony Fakowski, Jesus. Anthony Larocco. Ant, we miss you, despite the fact that I mixed 2 names together. Granted, I didn't say Williams, so you weren't married to me.
Oh, my God.
But Anthony, I hope you're enjoying your vacation right now. Phil, let's go right to the A block and the thing that we teased everybody with in the thumbnail right now. And that is, of course, the New York Rangers. And remember, everybody, when you're looking at the A block, it is sponsored by Seat Geek. Use the promo code BigAppleHockey for $20 off your first order. And Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available in the link below. And whenever Phil can, he will do the final buzzer with John Volkowski. I need to write another article, so I can't even promote mine right now. But Phil, the Rangers clinched a playoff berth with a win over the Philadelphia Flyers. That was in overtime. Phil, what a crazy game. We're going to be talking about that in a second. But the Rangers, 3-0 last week, now to 100 points. First team to triple digits. They're the first team to clinch a playoff spot. And right now, with the loss Carolina had last night, they lead Carolina by 3 points with a game in hand. The real question right now, and I'm going to flash the March schedule for you and a couple other statistics. Are the New York Rangers the best team in the NHL right now?
Subjective. I mean, every team has holes. Colorado looks great on paper. They look great right now. Nashville has... I know Nashville's nowhere near the top of the standings, but Nashville's recorded points after last night in 18 straight games. That's amazing.
Which we will talk about that a little bit later, too.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas looks good. Winnipeg, who I thought was playing some great hockey, has kind of fallen into a free fall lately. If anything, I don't know if they're necessarily the best team. They're one of them. They're playing great hockey right now. I mean, last night was probably the worst game they've played in a very long time. I would say probably since that malaise from like the end of December to the beginning of February, maybe that 2-month span where they were just awful and it just seemed like you didn't know what you were getting game to game. But they're definitely right there. I don't know if I can say for sure that they are the best. I don't know if I want to say that they are the best. I don't know if I want that weight on my shoulders if I'm them. I want to just go out and play every damn game the way that it needs to be played, the right way, the way they have been playing up until last night. But yeah, I mean, the points say they are. Yeah, great, whatever. But I'm more worried about them getting everybody healthy, playing the right way, right brand of hockey, smart, disciplined game, and counterattacking, because what they did to Boston and Florida in those games to shut them down towards the end of those games, was just masterclass work by Peter Laviolette, and that's what happens when you have a true elite god tier level coach. You get.
By the way, we'll be talking about Peter Laviolette more in the bar talk. Keep going, Phil.
But yeah, it's just a matter of, are they going to do this every night and give you that type of effort and play the right way? I mean, we saw it in November, and they rattled off how many wins, and they were nearly unbeatable in November heading into December. And then they ran off 10 wins in a row. And you're looking at like, wow, like, and I'm going to go back to the Alexa play Imagine Dragons, whatever it takes, because it just seems like that's what they've gotten back to, is whatever it takes to win. And it's next man up mentality, because you're losing guys left and right in the process. They lost Wheeler. Okay. That's kind of worked out for them in a way, because I think like they've been better for it. But, you get rid of Benino, you get rid of Pitlick, you get rid of Lashiz, I mean, your guys are coming in and they're producing. And I read an article from Vince Mercogliano, and a lot of what the guys are saying is that they're not worried about these injuries, because guys are just coming in and they're giving them something. Scanlon last night, what does he do? He comes in and he just plays solid. You don't hear his name often. He doesn't really make any big glaring mistakes, but that's all you need to do. All you need to do to contribute is just do your job, go about your work, and do the yeoman job that you're asked to do. So this is what they're getting all throughout their lineup. Guys are coming up, and then you're getting big goals from guys like Brodzinski. Like, who? I mean,
huge goal last night.
Huge goal last night. I don't think he played well as of late, but huge goal last night. And they're getting offense from all over the lineup. All over the lineup. They're getting it from different players, different ways. They're going to the Lafreniere goal. I mean, he went to an area where you have to score dirty goals from. That's not usually his game. His game is usually shots, dangles, maybe even a tap in on a rush play like we've seen, where we know he loves to do it from the left side against Buffalo. That's like his major spot. Always seems to do it in Buffalo against Buffalo from that left side on that pass going across crease. But Laffy has stepped up. He's played better. You can see the confidence oozing in him. It just Trouba looks like he's coming back sooner than later. Lindgren, I think, is a friggin' cyborg. I every time I see an update on him, I post the GIF from Terminator where he's literally like patching up his eye and then puts the sunglasses back on, because I'm convinced he is not human. There is no way he can be coming back from these injuries the way that he is. He's got to rest. But I mean, I love the vibes with this team right now. I do. I really do. And Vince has reported it as well. It's just there's a different dynamic in that locker room. And for me, it comes from the relationship between the players and the coach. And, and you see the videos, and Housley's going in and giving pucks to Lavi for his big win, for his career milestone. And then going and giving it to Quick for his career milestone, and tying Ryan Miller. And you didn't see this under Gallant. This is the byproduct of a team responding to a coach and just willing to do what it takes, because the coach does what he can for the players. It's a give and give relationship. And they didn't have that under Gallant. And yeah, Mikey, he has a Cyberdyne tattoo on his ass. I bet you he will. Skynet is coming, everybody. Lindgren is the harbinger.
I used to always make a joke on all things Rangers and even on Big Apple Hockey, saying that Ryan Lindgren makes Chuck Norris look like a wuss. I didn't use that. I used the P word for that. But that's what Ryan Lindgren does. Ryan Lindgren does things.
I think Chuck Norris wears Ryan Lindgren pajamas.
I would not blame him for doing that, because that's how tough you have to be, especially when it's, Ryan Lindgren has just done such a great job being in the lineup. He's doing what Girardi and McDonough and Stahl all did, except he actually is a tougher guy than them. He's blocking all the shots whenever he can. Speaking of which, I gotta look. I give him crap about it because I think he's being overhyped. But Matt Rampe diving and taking a shot and blocking it in his belly. Credit to the kid. And that's the thing. I'm gonna back you up with what you're saying right now. Whoever is stepping into the lineup knows that they have a tall order they have to do. They have to go in. They have to. That's a good one too. But
I like that one,
you have to step up if you want to be part of this team. And you know what, Phil? I'm going to say this. This reminds me a lot of the 2012 New York Rangers, the most forgotten great team that was around these parts in recent times. I mean, of course, 2015 they won the President's Trophy. 2014 they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. 2012 they could have won the President's Trophy on the final day, but they lost. I think it was the Capitals, and Vancouver ended up taking it.
Yeah.
Oh well, Alain Vigneault would win one of two President's Trophies. He'd win another one, which, by the way, Laviolette on the verge of winning a third President's Trophy with the Rangers. I mean, there's so much that has to go with this team. It really is a next man up attitude, and it amazes me because sooner or later you look over and go, how could this possibly be true? Yeah, because they shouldn't have lost to Jersey. I agree with you on that. Because
the team that was basically Kovalchuk and Parise.
Yeah, well, and don't forget Marty Brodeur, the Scorpion save. That has a lot to do with that one too. But they've risen to the challenge, and every time we doubted them, you've thought it. I've thought it. I've texted it out to people. Anthony's thought it. We've all thought this team was drifting back, and instead they have stayed in first place. They will not relinquish it. And again, I will say it right now. They are finishing number 1 in the Metro, and I'm going to go so far to say these words. Number 1 in the Eastern Conference. Put it down. Put it in the books. Number 1, book them for the second wild card of the first round, which could be Detroit.
I'm going to interrupt because this is John Radigan's usually like bang on with his comments. This is one of probably the best points I've seen made about this entire team.
Yeah.
This team is doing it, and Mika Zibanejad is giving you almost zilch at 5-on-5.
Almost, yeah. I think he's 5th on the team in scoring.
What's that?
He's 5th on the team in scoring, if I top of my head.
I believe you're correct. I would have to double check that off.
Well, he's behind Kreider.
He's behind Panarin. He's behind Kreider. He's behind Fox. He's behind
Trocheck.
So 5th. Yeah, he's 5th on scoring. Yep.
And hence why the topic of last week saying he needs to get to 30 goals. He's at 24 right now. The reason why I say stuff like that, Phil, is because you need those statistical numbers to go, I got 30. Bang, I can keep going.
He's not behind Fox. Actually, he's tied with Fox, but Fox has played like 11 less games than he has.
But, Phil, look at Alexei Lafreniere. Alexei Lafreniere hit 20 goals for the first time last Tuesday night. What happens? Bang, 2 goals in the back of the net last night. When you get past your career high, you're establishing a new career high. And look no further than the guy that should be talked about for the MVP. Yeah, I said it. Artemi Panarin. Because Panarin is putting up numbers that Taylor Hall in 2017, 2018, he'd be envious of. Why are we even discussing anything else?
You know what? As much as I would love Artemi Panarin to win the Hart, it's going to go to Nikita Kucherov.
I don't care. You're an 8th place team, 7th place team. You've done barely enough to scrape in. Shut up. Not you. I mean,
you know what?
Everybody that's saying him.
Hey, you know what? 123 points in 70 games. He's the NHL's leader in scoring. And and that team is barely getting to the playoffs. And they're not a good team anymore. I mean, Victor Hedman's not putting up the offensive numbers that he once used to. Actually, he's having kind of a resurgent year. I shouldn't even say that. He's 69 points in 68 games, so he's a point per game. Stamkos is just under a point per game. Brandon Hagel's got 64 points. But there is a massive, and I mean massive, drop-off after those 5. I mean, Hagel's 64 points. The next highest score after that is Nick Paul with 38.
All right, fine. Look, but I'm sorry. Artemi Panarin is the MVP. I'll take a guy that's taking a first place team and the best team overall and then go, oh, look at him over a guy with 112 points. And look, I don't want to face them in the first round. If I was any team, never mind the New York Rangers. But
Not yeah, and not only that, but if you take a look at the difference in points between the next highest scorer in Tampa, it's a 43-point difference between Kucherov and Point, 123 to 80. And this is something I've pointed out about Wayne Gretzky and how like crazy Wayne Gretzky was his day. Not many people know this unless you've really, really done a deep dive on Gretzky. But Gretzky holds the highest record also for outscoring the second highest scorer on his team. You want to know what that record is?
I would love to know.
107 points in 1982 when he outscored Glenn Anderson 212 to 105. That's insane.
Outscoring the second highest person on your team, and he had 105 for the points.
He also outscored the second highest scorer in the NHL by 65 plus points for 6 straight seasons from 82 to 87. And in the final 5 seasons, it was a 70 plus point mark.
Wayne Gretzky was one of a kind. That's the best way to ever say it.
That's why I bring up this Kucherov stat, though, because to see somebody outscore somebody, the second highest scorer on his team, by 40 points when they're both playing a full amount of games is insane. Because the last time I saw something that crazy was when Ovechkin outscored Dinas Zubras in his rookie year by 49 points on that crappy Washington Capitals team in 05-06. And I thought that was one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
So before we switch gears to the Islanders real quick, do you think the Rangers win the President's Trophy?
You know what? I've seen their schedule, and after tomorrow's game, their schedule's not that tough.
Nope.
It's really not. So it's very possible that they do. I just wonder if they get to a certain point where they know where they're going to clinch that division if they start resting players. And that's really, to me, I don't care if they win the President's Trophy. I don't. Would I like it? Sure. But the last time they won it, they didn't win the Stanley Cup. The time before that, they won it, they did win the Stanley Cup.
But that's, in fairness, that's because Matthew Barillo didn't wear ear guards.
Yeah, I know. But I do think that Lauren might be right about this. I mean, I think it may come down to the last game of the season, and it depends on if they want to rest players or not. And that's really, really why I can't give a straight answer. I'm just going to say yes, just because I'm going to be a homer here. But I don't know if they're really going to win it or not. There are so many teams there's so many things that come into play with this and how the schedule looks and where they are at the schedule at that time. So Carolina's not that far back.
Let me go one step further. They beat Colorado in Colorado a couple nights from now.
Tomorrow night, you mean?
Tomorrow night. Thank you.
Wow.
What's your opinion?
If they beat Colorado tomorrow night in Colorado, I might have to sing a different tune after that, because Colorado is playing some real good hockey right now. And top to bottom, they look like one of the most well-balanced teams in the entire NHL.
Well, just imagine if they actually keep Nate McKinnon from scoring at home, which we know is a very tough.
Yeah, that point streak at home is crazy right now.
All right, we're going to switch gears over to the New York Islanders. 1-2 last week, 75 points. They're 6th in the Metro. They were passed by the New Jersey Devils this week. Granted, the Devils have more games played than the New York Islanders. The Islanders trail the Washington Capitals by 6 points, and Money Puck is saying 4.7% chance of them making the playoffs. Philk, we watched the New York Islanders beat and handily beat one of the best teams in the league in the Winnipeg Jets, and then turn around goose egg against the Jersey Devils. First off, by the way, let me ask you this. How frustrating it is to watch this team, even when we don't have a resident Islander fan with us, but is there hope for the Islanders to make the playoffs still?
Yeah, I mean, they're not far off. They're really not, and their schedule's not terribly tough. They have a few games that, so their next 3 games are really going to be a make or break for me. Florida, Tampa, and then Philadelphia on Monday. So it's Florida tomorrow night, Tampa Saturday night, Philadelphia Monday night. Then you get a little bit of a reprieve with Chicago and Columbus. Nashville is on fire right now. That's their next game after that. Then they have the Rangers on the 9th. Then they have Montreal, which is a little bit of a reprieve on the 11th. The Rangers for the final time on the 13th. And then you got Jersey and Pittsburgh, who may be either Pittsburgh may be just probably playing spoiler at that point, and Jersey, they may still be fighting for a spot. So their schedule, it's not exactly easy. It's not exactly murderer's row either. But the way that I watch this team and the way that they play, it just reminds me of, it just seems like defeat. Like there's just an aura of doom and gloom with this team. And I don't know how they got up for Winnipeg the way that they did, but they have not played that way in any other game that I have seen them play in a long, long time. Maybe probably since that little spurt earlier on that went from like the end of February to the beginning of March, the first week of March. And even in some of those games in San Jose and Anaheim, they dominated them, but they were bad teams. The impressive wins were the ones against Dallas and then the one against Boston. Yeah, and they look great about that. And then after that, they just look like they're mailing it in almost every night. Like they look like they mailed it in against Ottawa. The Rangers just absolutely trounced them. Carolina's had their number for a while and just trounced them again. And you know what? The Detroit game, I said for sure that they were going to come out and they were going to win that game. And what did they do? They folded like a sheep soup because Dylan Larkin came back that night.
And he had a hell of a goal for the third one.
He did. And I'm with Lauren on this one. I don't think Sorokin's been all that good. It's not all his fault. I think the defense in front of him has been bad. But I don't understand how this team brought in Patrick Waugh, played well, and then they all of a sudden they fall off a bit, and then they have that little win streak, and now they're playing like crap again. Like honestly, I think, and I said this last week, it comes back on the players, and that group. And I think changes need to be made this offseason with this team, and I don't think they will. I don't think it will happen. Like Anthony said on Saturday when he was on Sirius XM radio, I hope all you guys got to check him out and show him some support and give him some views. But he stated that it's going to be very hard for them to make the big moves that they need to make this offseason because of the contracts and the way that everything is set up. So, you know what? I'm actually kind of on board with this. Why has Varlamov not got more of a lion's share with Sorokin struggling the way he struggled?
I think it's simply put, no matter what, you're going with your prize stallion.
At this point, he's not been that good. He's not been the Vezina caliber guy. Like, everybody is admitting it. Everybody knows it. And I get it. Like, you don't want to kill this guy's confidence. But you got points that you need desperately. If your best guy is not giving you the game that you need, you got to go to the guy that's going to give you better results.
I mean, saves above expected. He's still among the tops in the NHL. But I do have to agree with this. Just give him a reprieve. Give him a mental break. This is where I do agree with you on this. You need to do this. But they're riding him till no end.
I think Evan's right about this. I think that when, I think that it just the schedule earlier on with the Varlamov injury really has kind of really worn down on him. And he wasn't having a great year. Like, not a lot of goalies are having great years.
Nope.
Hellebuck has not looked good as of late. I mean, he's getting shellacked. He got pulled from a game the other day. So, I mean, against the Islanders. So it's like nothing that we're seeing it's like bizarro world for goaltenders this year. But David, they didn't just strictly go with Igor when they were struggling. That was when they were rotating Quicken. And that's what the Islanders need to do. I'm sorry, but if your goal is to make the playoffs and to go forward, then you can't worry about your number one guy's psyche. You got to go with hot hand.
And by the way, Phil, this is a very Jekyll and Hyde team. They've done this all year. It's nothing to be surprised about. And by the way, you almost got to ask yourself, is Lou a genius or an idiot for not adding a trade deadline? Because you might want to say, oh, they have potential. But really, what was their potential? Now, again, I wish I had Anthony here to contradict me, maybe even say I'm wrong. But it's one of those things I can't help but go, was this team destined to go far? Because if not, I think it is time for a soft rebuild. You don't have to go into a hard rebuild. You can do a soft rebuild, change around a couple things. I wouldn't want to see it, but again, we're going to throw the name Brock Nelson out there. That's what's going to happen. It's just that true. So it shouldn't happen. They should re-sign Brock. He should be an Islander the rest of his career. That's one of them. But I'm telling Brock Nelson right now. And that's the reason why I kind of act like that.
I know. I get it. He's the attractable, he's the attractive trade piece on that team. I mean, I get it. He's got a modified no trade clause, though. That's the one thing that you're not looking at, which is a 16 team no trade list. Anders Lee is probably going nowhere, John D. Lee, because of the fact that he's got an overbloated salary and he is clearly on the decline.
And the other thing Anthony brings up all the time is that Lou does not buy out guys. So
yeah, they're not going to buy out Anders Lee. They're not going to buy him out because that buyout would be insane, I think, if they bought him out. I mean, I do the numbers on Cap Friendly right now and see if does it even give me the option to do it? Oh no, yeah.
I think you have to do it at the end of the
No, it gives you the option. There's a link for it. Yeah, I mean, they would have a $2.875 million cap hit next year for it, a $4.225 million cap hit the following year in 25-26, and then 2 years at $1.725 after that. I mean, I wonder if that's really the way that they're going to have to go, because if you could save over $4 million by not having him, and you got to remember, he's old too. He's not a spring chicken. He's, I think, 33 or 34. 33. He'll be 34 in July. So it's Pajot is somebody I'd move to.
But Pajot is starting to look like he's cooked.
You can't be paying $5 million for 3, and that's why they're in the situation they're in. That's why they're in the situation they're in, because they continue to overpay for bottom 6 players, and that's why I stress the importance of the Rangers getting guys like Berard, getting guys like Rempe, getting guys like Enstrom. They're going after Colin Graff from Quinnipiac, who's the top NCAA free agent. Yaroslav Milosh from Providence College looks like he could be a future bottom 6 piece. You know what? You can't overpay for bottom 6 players. The Rangers made that mistake with Barclay Goodrow.
Yep.
And they're probably going to correct that this offseason. The Islanders have to start doing it. And you know what? Great question, Matt, because Anthony on Saturday brought up the possibility of moving one of those guys.
And I think it's going to be Ryan Pulock.
That's what he was talking about too.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Pulock is a good defenseman. He's a second pairing defenseman at this point. He is not a top pairing guy. He is not somebody you want playing 25 minutes a game against top pairing competition anymore. I'm sorry. He's just not. He's good. Maybe you retain $1 million on him to move him. But the problem is that they have trade protection. And that's going to be an interesting conversation for Lou Lamoriello or whoever the general manager is at whatever time that this comes up for them to, have with those two guys, because they've got full no trade clauses. Sorry.
And here's the other thing to add on top of that, Phil. When you get guys that are defensive, that play the body, that block every shot with their body. I think that wears on them a lot more than, say, what Adam Fox is doing, or a lot of these other defensemen that, let's just say, they use a little bit more finesse in their game. And we've seen it with Dan Girardi, Marc Stahl, Ryan Callahan, all these guys that have given their bodies to the game. They wear down faster. And you can't, like, even that's why, as a Ranger guy, I would give a little bit of trepidation to a long-term contract for Ryan Lindgren. But, guys, we're going to talk more in the Bar Talk segment, or the layup, as the Ranger Central guys will say to us right now. Let's get into that. But first, a message from DraftKings.
Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one.
I know I say this every week, Phil, but I love that last one because I know Anthony called me a hack for asking that question. I mean, with everybody. Guys, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Is it a layup? Let's see. All right. There's going to be some, I think, on this one. But are you so confident you're buying everybody around? I'll have a beer. You know what? Play along down in the comments below, everybody. And let's start with some news that was made last night. Mr. Fulkowski, a guy who I couldn't even correctly pronounce his name because I would say it way too fast. And also I learned the wrong pronunciation for a while. The New York Rangers coach, Peter Laviolette, wins his 800th game over the Philadelphia Flyers and John Tortorella. See, I had to screw something
You got one right and you screwed up the other.
But he does have 744 wins. He is in second place. Phil, Laviolette is the best American-born head coach, bar none.
Get the gift. Get the hoop. Get the hoop while you're at it.
Well, the hoop is up here. Again, thank you, everybody, over at Ranger Central. But I got to get the gift. There it is, the layup. There it is.
Yeah, the layup and the hoop. Yeah, it's no offense to John Tortorella, who's right there, but Peter Laviolette's the guy. He's one of a rare few coaches to go to the Stanley Cup Finals with 3 different teams and win at least one Stanley Cup. Scotty Bowman is one of the others. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if there are any others beyond that.
Mike Keenan.
Keenan. Rangers, Blackhawks, and
Flyers.
Yeah. Yeah, 87 and 85, 92, and then 94. You're right. Yeah, so I mean he's in very rare air, and he's up there in the all-time wins list. So yeah, for me, Peter Laviolette's the guy. He's been the most successful guy, and he's the one that lasts longer at lots of stops because he doesn't go to that yelling stuff that gets you canned quicker because players tune you out after a while. For me, Laviolette is the guy that has a better system. He's shown the ability to adapt with the times. I mean, he's done very well for himself, and the players love him. The players absolutely love him wherever he goes. So and Evgeny Kuznetsov, sorry, but you were the problem there.
Yeah.
The Taylor Swift, it's me, I am the problem, or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, it's definitely Kuznetsov there. So
Phil, I'm buying around on this one as well, and part of that has to do with, look, I thought the world of Laviolette ever since he was the New York Islanders head coach. I thought this guy, yeah, he is the anti-Turk. That is a good way of saying it.
Absolutely.
He preaches structure and everything else. And look, I'm buying around, and let me just say this first. I am doing this with all compliments to Laviolette and no insult to two great American coaches. One of them, we all know, is royalty, Herb Brooks.
Yes.
Herb Brooks just never had the NHL success. Had a little bit of success with the Smurfs. That was about it. But he had the international success, a gold medal, the greatest gold medal in American hockey history, and a silver medal in 2002, where the Canadians just were electric in that final game. John Tortorella doesn't get enough recognition. The man does more with less than anyone I can think of. And it's truly amazing, Phil. He is that good. He's that good. Look at what he's doing with the Flyers this year. Look at what the game was last night.
I wanted Laviolette, and we had the scoop that he was getting fired before anybody else had it. So I went nuts when I found out about that. I
wanted him. I wasn't excited. I wanted him more in 2013. That's what I really wanted him. Now, with that being said, yeah, Torts for Jack Adams.
You know what? If Torts wanted over Laviolette, I would not care. I would totally understand it. I really would, because that roster doesn't belong anywhere near a playoff picture. It's terrible. It's not good.
And barely, you know who could probably be like the number 2 defenseman on that team, Phil? Mike Riley, guy that the Islanders cleared off waivers. 48 games with the Islanders, 18 points. He's a -3 and almost 17 minutes average time on ice. The Islanders need to re-sign Mike Riley. Go.
I'm going to go round. It's not necessarily a layup, but I'm going to go round. He's actually given them something in terms of depth on the blue line, and he's put a good amount of points in a short amount of time. Their power play runs through Dobson, but Riley can run that second unit, and he's adept at moving the puck out of the zone, and the Islanders need more of that. I mean, if you look at the other defensemen on their team, Pollock, not the greatest puck mover. Okay, but not great. Pellick, a little better at moving the puck than he gets credit for, but still not great. Mayfield, another one who's not a great puck mover. They need guys that can really move the puck. And they don't have top-notch offensive, defensive prospects. Like Bolduc doesn't project as that type of defenseman. Aho is okay. Robin Salo, everybody was high on for a while, but it looks like he's kind of regressed a bit. I mean, I would keep Riley if I were them. I'm going to go round here.
I'm going beer because when I think of Mike Riley, I think of Eric Gustafson in English. Or Irish, whichever one you want to say.
I think Riley might be a little better defensively than that, but
probably better defensively than Gustafson. But Gustafson is another guy. These are guys that they're good. They're not great. They never really find a home. And again, look, if my team claimed him tomorrow, I'd be happy about that. It's just I question whether I can give him a long-term deal. I just don't know if it projects out too well.
I'm not saying give him a long-term deal. I'm saying just re-sign him for a year. See where it goes.
A year would be fine because, I mean, he didn't find a home with the Bruins. He didn't find the home with the Panthers. And the other teams aren't even coming to mind at the moment. Anyway, Phil, let's go over to the Eastern Conference wildcard standings, where the Tampa Bay Lightning have 85 points. The Washington Capitals have 81. The Red Wings have 79 after last night's very bitter overtime win, which I have right here. The Capitals beat the Red Wings in overtime. The Capitals are a team to fear in the playoffs.
Shot. Yeah, all right. It is a shot layup for me. I mean, listen, you don't want to sleep on any roster. You don't, because that's how you end up having a 1994 Red Wings collapse or a 2000 St. Louis Blues collapse where that team ends up upsetting them in 4 games, 7 games, something like that. But I'm not fearing Washington. That doesn't mean you go and disrespect them and just take them lightly. You go out there and you kick the crap out of them in 4 or 5 games. That's what you do. And they don't the offense is just not there. Ovechkin's playing better, and he's scoring in different types of ways now. He's getting a lot more garbage goals now. I think he's changing something up, and there's a different vibe to them right now, which is good. But where is that offense coming from? Where is their center depth? Dylan Strom's going to be the linchpin of your offense. I'm not buying that any bit. I'm sorry. I'm not. It's an old aging core, and they don't know. They don't really have what it takes anymore. And that core is just, it's on its way down. It's on its way down. And I listen, Charlie Lindgren is really their number 1 goaltender right now. Darcy Kemper, yeah, he kind of went through a Stanley Cup Finals and had a sub 900 save percentage in a Stanley Cup Finals series. That just goes to show you just their goaltending's not good either. So yeah, if Charlie Lindgren can steal them a series, then that would be one of the craziest stories that the NHL has seen in a while, that a 30-year-old backup goaltender comes in, ends up winning the starting job from the starter and the incumbent starter, and then ends up winning a series for them and becoming a starting goaltender. For me, I don't see it. It's too much of a Cinderella story. Nobody fears them.
Phil, since November 21st, the Capitals are 4th in the league with 23 points behind the Avalanche, the Hurricanes, and the Nashville Predators, who seem like they will never lose in regulation ever again. And you know what? I'm still going to surprise you on it. They're a +5. I'm going to go shot 2. I've been trying to build out Spencer Carberry. I think he's done a great job, especially for a rookie head coach. But the thing, I can't help but look at them and say, you know what? I just don't know. I mean, Tom Wilson might scare you in the first round, doing something stupid, taking out one of your best players. But Phil, I just think if you're relying on Charlie Lindgren, and Darcy Kemper's a better goalie than what he's shown, but he hasn't shown it since leaving Arizona. You know what? Yeah, -26 in goal differential, Pete, on the season. I'm looking at what they're doing recently. I just don't buy it.
I really don't buy it. I just don't. That roster doesn't scare me. I honestly, I think they were the team that, if I had to pick a team to face in the first round, I would hope that the Rangers get home ice throughout at least the Eastern Conference, and then play them in the first round, because I feel like that would be a 4 or 5 game series and they could rest a little bit.
Phil, let's go right back to this game last night. The Red Wings lost to the Capitals in overtime. Look at the Eastern Conference wildcard standings. They are trailing by 2 points. The Capitals have a game in hand. Detroit is done.
Shot. They're not done by any means. I don't know how you get they're done from that. It's definitely not over yet. It's not even close to over. It's a 2-point lead for Washington, and Washington has a game in hand. And Washington, as Pete pointed out, -26 goal differential. Detroit just recently got back Dylan Larkin, and they're starting to play better now. So I don't think that this is anywhere close to done. So I got to say, shot layup here. It's not done at all.
There's 11 games remaining. Capitals have a 2-point, literally 2 points, strength of schedule differential between them and Detroit. Detroit is 578, Caps are 576. But that being said, yeah, this ain't over. All it takes is one bad day. Even though the Capitals really, they have the advantage because they have the game in hand. So they just got to go out and no. Hey, look, I'm willing to take more topics, but you know what? These are the topics right now. What do you want me to do? Talk about Buffalo? Let's talk about. All right, let me go to the Senators. Hey, Phil, do you think the Senators are done? Anyway, but Phil, I think one thing to go with on this is You going for Mac Celebrini? But no, I think I do think I'm actually closer to a beer on this than a shot, but I still gotta go shot. So that's as far as I can go with that. All right, Phil, we're gonna keep going because you're still laughing. The Dallas Stars lead the Central Division with 99 points. Colorado 97 right behind them, and of course, obviously the Winnipeg Jets right there as well. Whoever wins the Central will represent the West in the Stanley Cup Finals. Go.
Okay, I mean this is interesting. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with beer just because. I mean, that's a tough division. I do think that Dallas and Colorado, if you ask me, are better teams than Vancouver and Edmonton. I know Vancouver is right there with the Rangers. I don't want to say round just because we don't know, but I worry about Vancouver come playoff time because I don't think their defense is that great. Mm-hmm. They play a great team defensive game, which, I mean, if you look at Carolina in 2006, Peter Laviolette, what the hell are you doing over there? I
looked at my hair was puffing out.
The hell are you, Johnny Cage over there? Are you wearing sunglasses next? Because you're a former actor?
Oh, I'm a former actor, but that's a different story. So look at Vancouver, Carolina in 2006.
Carolina in 2006, they had a very good offense, but their defense, if you looked at it on paper, was not good. But they played to the sum of their parts. You had guys like Aaron Ward and Frankie Caberlet playing top pairing minutes to them for them, and then Brett Hedican, Nicholas Wallin. I mean, they did not have a great defense on that core. I think Oleg Tverdovsky was on that core as well. But they were not a good team. They really were not a good team, and in terms of defense, but as a team defense, they played a lot better. Yeah, Glenn Wesley in his last year, I believe he retired after they won the cup. Actually.
Yeah, he did.
But it wasn't. Where was a top pairing defenseman there? Where was a number 2 defenseman there? They didn't have any legitimate defensemen. And then Cam Ward went on that crazy run as a rookie and won the Conn Smythe. But
I believe they were down 0-2 to the Canadiens in the first round.
Yeah, they were down, and that's crazy. But it just the offense and the goaltending really carried the Carolina Hurricanes in that playoff run. And that's what I think Vancouver is going to have to do. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. The other thing that I worry about with Vancouver is Quinn Hughes. Like, what happens when these games start to become more tight checking, the whistles disappear a little bit, and the game gets tougher and more physical? I really wonder about Quinn Hughes at that point. And not only that, but Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, those guys slowed down quite a bit as the season went along in terms of offense. They're still productive, but they're not anywhere near where they were in like November and December. I mean, JT Miller is I believe their top scorer as of right now. So, yeah, he's actually 10th in the league with 91 points. I just looked at it. And Pettersson has 84. Who would have thought that Pettersson would be behind Miller at this point this year? But I do worry about Vancouver and Edmonton. Oh, man, they still don't understand what goaltending and defense are.
Yeah.
And you know what? Skinner's all right. He's not the guy. So, yeah.
Which makes it more interesting where Vegas ends up in the playoff picture. Because if Vegas can get back into the top 3, which they're only, I think, a point behind the Kings right now, then they would get matched up with Edmonton and then probably with whoever wins the first round in with the Vancouver series. And watch out for that series because I do think Vancouver is ripe for the plucking for an upset. Now, again, I'm not saying that to slam Vancouver. I'm saying they just don't have the experience. We don't know what Pettersson and these guys are going to be like in the playoffs because the last time they were in the playoffs, I mean, Thatcher Demko was getting coached by Travis Green, and it was in the bubble. So I don't know about that. We'll see about that soon enough. I am going to go beer on this because the part of the other problem, Phil, is Central Division teams got to go through each other. There's a very good chance they might wear themselves out. It sort of happened the last time Winnipeg made the conference finals against the Vegas Golden Knights, and they were just done by the time they got to the Golden Knights. So,
yeah, I think Nashville is going to be a lot tougher of a matchup than some teams are. I think they're just playing with a lot of momentum. I mean, there's still a few games left in the regular season, so we'll see how it goes with them. But if you came across a hot Nashville team and Saros playing the way that he's playing right now, and Saros can steal a series. He absolutely can do it. I don't think that's a team that Colorado or Vancouver or anyone, Dallas, whatever the case may be. I don't think anybody wants to see them in a 7-game series right now, because even though I think they could beat those guys, even though they think they would beat Nashville, I think Nashville would take them to 7, and it would be an absolute bloodbath.
Phil, by the way, one guy you mentioned just a minute ago, the Edmonton Oilers and his team, Connor McDavid, 119 points. Connor McDavid is an MVP finalist yet again.
I'm going to have to buy around on this. I don't think it's a layup, but I'm going to have to buy around, because a lot of Edmonton's resurgence after their terrible start earlier on in the year comes down to McDavid getting healthy, and then McDavid getting his old friend and junior coach from Erie, Chris Knobloch, former New York Ranger assistant, in to coach the team. And McDavid actually has a chance, and he probably will do it, because Connor McDavid racks up apples like he's Stu Leonard's, and I think he's going to get 100 assists. He will be the 4th player in NHL history to record 100 assists in a season. And the other 3, 2 of them are fairly obvious. The other one is Bobby Orr. And unless you're really a huge hockey fan, you may not know that. But Bobby Orr is one of the 3 players that has racked up 100 assists in a season. Adam Oates has come close. Pat LaFontaine has come close. They've both missed it. But if Connor McDavid gets 100 assists again, and this team is in a playoff spot where they're one of the 2 playoff teams and not a wild card team, you really have to look at McDavid and say to yourself, wow, like, where would this Oilers team be without McDavid? Because Draisaitl is not having a great year, and Connor McDavid has turned Zach Hyman into a 50-goal scorer.
Look, here's the hard part I have. I said in the A block, to me, Artemi Panarin is the MVP. Also, by the way, I still go back to, if there's anybody I say is the MVP, it's Nate McKinnon. And that's another guy. And you brought up the points about Kucherov. Okay. So who am I throwing out of those 3? I want to say it's McDavid. McDavid might be the guy you end up throwing out. And the problem is, it's because of what McDavid's done. And you said it best just now. Draisaitl's not having a great year this year. So it's not the McDavid and Draisaitl show. This is more like the McDavid show. And Draisaitl is like that supporting character that gets the with or the and in there, like at the end of a casting listing.
I hate to say it, but I would have to toss McKinnon. And
really,
I know that they're talking about, Gabe Landeskog is not there, but they have 3 other point per game players right behind McKinnon. Rantanen is going to score 100 points. Makar is probably going to score 85 to 90 points. Nichushkin, who has missed time, has 50 points in 48 games. They're getting something out of Jonathan Drouin now, who looked like his career was completely lost. And yeah, I get it, but this Colorado team has weapons. And I personally would throw McKinnon out of it. He would be my 4. I would throw Panarin there, but I know that they're going to throw Panarin there because McKinnon is a guy that plays first-line minutes for Colorado. Panarin is playing on quote-unquote a second line in New York. And McKinnon has quite a few more points. He has 21 more points than Panarin, and the Rangers are a first-place team. So that's what I think it's going to come down to. But for me, I would have to say that McDavid and Kucherov are the two guys that I would put right at the very top, and then I would probably have Panarin at 3 for the Hart.
Look, and again, when my criticism of Kucherov comes out, it's that the team has not done very well. You can't. There's two things I never get when you're the most valuable player on a team that's barely scraping into the playoffs, or it's that you really got to get them to climb on your back and do it, or you have the two MVP candidates that are 1 and 2, and then number 3 is some other guy. Like, I'll pull a name out of a hat, which is Mike Piazza.
You want to hear a crazy stat?
Go ahead.
Tampa Bay has 668 total point seasons scored by players, including an assist from Andrei Vasilevsky. Nikita Kucherov has 123 of those.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat.
That's insane. And I don't understand how anyone can devalue that type of season. I mean, he could score 135, 140 points if he somehow gets hot.
Well, by the way, this is why most valuable player is always the most subjective, because it's most valuable not only to his team and in the league perspective. So this is why there should always be an argument. There should never not be an argument for most valuable player. And when people want to say it should be most outstanding player or something else like that, or most productive player.
That's why there's a Pearson and a Hart. But McKinnon, Colorado has 735 total points, and McKinnon has scored 123 of those.
Where would this team be without Nate McKinnon? And also, let's look over to how many crucial goals. Now, this is the other thing. We got to break it down. How many crucial goals did Artemi Panarin score for the New York Rangers? How many times have the Rangers been down 1-0? Panarin ties it. How many times have they been down 2-1? He's tied it. How many times has it been 2-2? He had an assist that got the lead. He had 3 points last night.
Listen, I get it, and I agree, and I would love to see Panarin win the Hart. I don't think it's happening, and I think it's going to. I think it's going to be Kucherov.
I think it's going to end up being McKinnon. I think, and that's because I think everybody wants to give it to McKinnon, myself included, because I think the eye test shows he has earned it this year. And again, it's nothing against Kucherov. He's already got one. That's the thing. It's just, you know what? This is McKinnon's year. And the best part is about those two, they're letting their play do the talking. Both of them on the ice. It's like anything you can do, I can do better.
Amount of points, but Kucherov has played 2 less games than McKinnon. So that's really like that's one of the other big things is that, I mean, we'll see what happens with the games at hand and the scoring trophy and everything like that. But I mean, Tampa has scored 668 points, and Kucherov has 123 of those. Panarin has 102 of the Rangers' 665. So there's about the same amount of points scored total on the team, and Panarin has a lower fraction of it.
Phil, let's go to one more topic that was kind of brought up yesterday. Nashville ends up getting the game-tying goal on a clear offsides. It was literally that much, if you can see the picture on it. And the NHL video review is flawed.
I'm going to say beer. I want to see the other view from the side camera that they have. I didn't see that one. So I do like the fact that they have review. They obviously have gotten it wrong sometimes. So I'm gonna say beer. I definitely think there are some flaws with it. Overall, they seem to get a decent amount of the calls right, but they do get some ones that are blatantly wrong. They're just like, what the hell's going on here? What are they looking at? So I want to see all of what they're looking at, because I don't think they show everything to the fans, and they should. It should be on the league to provide that video that they're making that exact termination from the fans, because they're not giving everybody everything.
I'm actually going to buy around, but not because of the reason that was just cited. And I had the picture of it. I was going to put it up, but I didn't load it on my computer right now. And look, they're going to get things wrong. It's just that simple. Now, what they got wrong with that, I saw the picture of it. Like half the puck was over the line and the skate blade was completely over the line. But like the tuck, or is it the tuck or the toque? I haven't pronounced it in 30 years. But with the blade holder, that was over the line for a second. Look, if that goes at the same rate of speed, then obviously that's an offsides play. But like I said before, I want to see what the angle of it says. Secondly, Vegas, get over it. Like, please, you've gotten enough reprieves from the league. You don't have to cry about that. Trust me, it's not like Dwight King fell on your starting goaltender in the Stanley Cup Finals, and a goal was allowed, and you ended up losing in overtime in a crucial game too. I can't think of any plays like that, Phil, that I'm still burnt up about, where instant replay would wish existed. But but you know, it's going to be flawed. It's going to be flawed. It's not going to be perfect. The thing is, are the mechanisms in place for them to make the right call? Yes, I think they're in place. I would like to see what the other side of that call is. But that one definitive thing, you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember when, I think it was Peter Pruka had, I think he had a game-winning goal for the Rangers, the game that Chris Simon slashed Ryan Hallwig in the face. And I think the Islanders possibly tied it in the final seconds. But video review, they had to blow it up to the utmost in order to see it. But it wasn't conclusive. That's the reason why video review is there. You need to have conclusive proof. All right, guys, thanks for participating with Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Let's get some more of your thoughts and your questions. We got about 10 more minutes ourselves. And like Mike said, like, share, subscribe, and get the word out there. Do you guys think that the 2024 Canucks are the 2022 Devils?
I think they're a better team than that. They play a very similar type of game. I had started this one because I thought this was a really good question. I can see the comparison and why you would bring that up, State of Survival. Yeah, I get the comparison. I do. I think they're a better team. I think there's better goaltending there. The defense, I don't know about. Quinn Hughes is a great puck mover. Don't get me wrong, but I really question his game come playoff time. And you're really going to see what happens with him when the whistles they start getting reduced. I mean, the penalties aren't called as highly, and the games start getting tighter, checked against better teams. I just don't think Vancouver has what it takes at that point. So you ask me.
I think they're better than the 2022-23 Devils. And I'm not taking anything away from the Devils last year. I think that this team is much more solid. I questioned the Devils' goaltending the entire time last year. And sure enough, Carolina decided to out them completely in the playoffs after the Rangers did it, and then they couldn't figure out, maybe don't shoot it into Schmid's chest. The thing is, I look at them and I just think there's more star power. They're better in net. They're better in depth wise. But I think this is a fair comparison. I really do. I think it's a fair comparison. Are they overachieving? Yeah, probably. But I think Tocchet in his first year / his first full season, I should say, is a little bit more than Lindy Ruff in what ended up being his last full season as well. I still can't believe they fired Lindy Ruff, to be honest with you, Phil. It bewilders me why they did that.
Yeah, I'm not totally bewildered. I just thought they would have done it earlier. And listen, it's not all Lindy's fault. Major injuries to guys like Hamilton. Timo Meyer wasn't playing well. Now all of a sudden he's playing well. It's a combination of things with Jersey. They're a little bit of a flawed team. They didn't have goaltending, and that, part of that is on Fitzgerald. So
yeah,
I like this question from Pete here. Thoughts on the draft prospects after Celebrini? Everybody loves Salayev. I mean, you have a 6'7", 200+ pound left-handed shot defenseman. That's great. Ivan Demidov looks like he could be an absolute dynamic, explosive player. I mean, Cole Yzerman. Everybody's been talking about Yzerman for probably about a year and a half.
Been talking about him for a while.
Long time. Zeev Boyum. I mean, he just had an older brother that was just drafted, and Boyum could be a real good puck mover, I think, in the future. I think the guy that a lot of people, I think he might end up going mid-round, and I think he's going to end up as a steal, because I think he may end up being the best goal scorer in the entire draft when it's all said and done. Probably Tyja Ginla.
Matador
I think
one,
he's going to
even
be
though
an absolute stud. And I know that it's easy to say because this is his father, but what he's doing in his league right now at his age is comparable to what Jonathan Toews was doing in that same league at that same age. So just put that in perspective.
Phil, Matador asks is one, even though we're going to go through this in the offseason and give our official responses to this, we'll sit down, we'll actually think about it, but your gut reaction. Rangers Mount Rushmore. Brian Leach, Rod Gilbert, fill in the last two.
Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, agreed.
And I got to go Marc Messier.
I was told for the sake of my pending marriage, I need to say Mike Richter.
I can't
however, look, I'd probably have to say, you know what? To give a different answer for you, Phil, not Mike Richter, not Messier. It's probably Messier. Let's be honest. It's probably Messier. So let me give a different answer.
Everything about that franchise.
And not Lester. I can't say Lester Patrick. Christ Kreiner. One typo. And who knows? I probably called him Christ.
Christ Kreiner. Oh, it's great.
So, and this is why I'm marrying this woman, by the way.
Yeah.
I do have to say this. Let me give a couple of answers that are off the beaten path. Eddie Jockman, who captured fans' hearts better than most other Rangers of all time. I'm not going to say Lester Patrick because Lester Patrick was their first coach, and he won a game in the Stanley Cup Finals as a coach. Let's never forget that. Or even Frank Boucher, who won it as a coach and a player. But let me throw out there Andy Bathgate.
That's somebody I was just going to say, actually. That would have been the guy for me. I mean, Jockman, I know, is an obvious one, but Andy Bathgate had 729 points in 719 games with the Rangers, and he's one of a very rare few players in Rangers history to win a Hart Trophy. I know he never won a Stanley Cup, but he won a Hart Trophy on a team that didn't make the playoffs. Yeah, 4 teams made the playoffs back then. A little different than the original 6, especially with Homestead provincial rules that basically led to the spawning and the birth of the NHL entry draft. Yes, Messier is an Oiler, but Messier is also on the Mount Rushmore of Rangers. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. Messier is another rare. He's one of the rare players to be on a Mount Rushmore of both teams.
2 different teams.
I mean, Wayne Gretzky, obviously.
Gretzky's the other one in LA.
Yeah. I mean, Eric Lindros, arguably on both Colorado's and the Flyers.
Oh, there we go.
Because after all, they wouldn't have Peter Forsberg if he wasn't a Flyer. So
yeah, I know. He traded half of a team and cash for Lindros between two different teams in 92 on draft day. We get it.
Phil, when you did your what ifs, I think I still have that to cut if I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But did you ever think, what if they accepted the Rangers offer of James Patrick? Let me see if I get it all. James Patrick, Darren Turcotte, $20 million, John Van Beesbroek, and was it Tony Amonte?
That package has been gone over like ad nauseum so much. And I've heard Alexei Kovalev was supposed to be a part of that package.
Wow.
It seems like you get different answers from wherever you look. But they don't win the Cup in 94. Maybe they win one later if they can. Yeah, it was, Matt. It was. So.
I mean,
I did that like 2-3 years ago now, I think.
The number one what if I will always think about, and I think you covered it. I never got around to doing all yours. And thank you. Because, by the way, I'm the one that cut it. By the way, if I also recall it correctly, Phil, I think you broke Rod Gilbert passing during that video.
That could be the case. I mean,
it was definitely during the summer.
Oh, wow. Is
the day that Rod died. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember watching it at the bar and then seeing it, and then you had to break it like minutes later. But I think was number one Sidney Crosby going to the New York Rangers?
That was a part of that list.
Yeah.
I would have to go back and take a look at that video again, but I'm pretty sure that was part of the list because Jeremy Roenick ran his mouth off probably about a few days before that draft and said that that Bettman should rig the draft and send him to one of New York, LA, or the Flyers. And yep.
Sure enough, they did. I mean, they got him to Pittsburgh.
He got him to Pittsburgh, and yeah.
A team that needed him badly. He saved that franchise. And somebody, I forgot who said it, but I almost got to agree with them. Sidney Crosby is more crucial to the city of Pittsburgh than Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I agree, because if the Steelers were a dynasty before Ben Roethlisberger's 2 Super Bowl wins.
And also there was Steelers.
And they're the Steelers. The football is number one in America. Crosby kept hockey in Pittsburgh.
This is a good one, though, by the way, just to throw this one out there. What if Bill Belichick coached the Jets?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. That would be an interesting one.
If the Rangers the Rangers finish first, the Islanders squeak into the playoffs, what are the chances we see a Rangers-Islanders series? That's the only way the Islanders are going to be in the playoffs. They got to be wild card.
That's the only way that they're going to get into the playoffs. I don't think they're getting into wild card 1. And if the Rangers somehow lost, the division to Carolina, then the Islanders would have to move up to the third playoff spot. That's not going to happen. So, the chances are small, but I mean they are there.
I have to kill Pete for this one. He said, "Oh, what if Drew Brees signed in Miami instead of New Orleans?" Oh man. Why you got to do me like that?
Yeah.
That's still one of the greatest mistakes ever made by an organization. And
they went with Phillip Rivers over Drew Brees, and
that's okay. They went with Phillip Rivers over Drew Brees. Miami went with Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can only think of what would have happened if San Diego would have kept Drew Brees.
By the way, Rob, instead of doing what if the Mets won the Subway Series, what if Roger Clemens was ejected for throwing the bat at Mike Piazza?
I still think the Yankees would have won that series, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah. This is what I get for having a Yankee fan.
Would have been ejected for it, yes, but I mean, I still think the Yankees would have found a way to win that series. They would have been their team.
But by the way, that's also the Yankees and their experience showing what it is. They talked about the Yankee Stadium mystique. Is that the Yankees always had the experience at that time. This goes all the way back to I want to say 2005 when they always talked about the Yankee Stadium mystique. The Yankees were just there every day. Like Derek Jeter played a full season in the playoffs. How many other players could say they ever did that? All right, well, Ranger Central, hold on. Let me defend him on this one. 0-1 after three ball counts in front of him. You're taking strike one. What happened? He fouled off strike two, and then pitch number 3, you try to hit that. Hit that right now. Go back in time, get in the batter's box. You know it's coming. Go hit that. Nobody's hitting that. That is one of the best curveballs I ever saw. Go ahead,
yeah,
Phil.
what if Zubov wasn't traded? Yeah, that was on my list too. Is the Zubov Nedved for Robitaille Samuelson trade? That's still one of the probably the worst trade in team history. I'd say Rick Middleton probably being number 2 for Ken Hodge.
I think it's terrible because, look, they didn't need to trade Zubov. And I think that's where you don't listen to the players on it.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind this,
Yeah.
and Brian Leach lamented this for a long time. He didn't have a power play partner like Sergei Zubov. They didn't have a weapon at that time like Sergei Zubov. He was the bomb from the point. And although Firestorm, that's a good one. By the way, Justin, that's a good one too. We'll get to that one in a second.
That was also on my list. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, which that was on not only Phil's list, but we were able to ask the man, Neil Smith, about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Or last year. However, let me just say this for Zubov. They didn't need to trade him. The Rangers were trying to build up to go for the Flyers and the Devils. Instead, they ended up not only trading away Sergei Zubov and Peter Nedved, but they ended up trading them away to lose to them in the playoffs the next year. Like, the only good thing about it is that they were able to overcome that and get to the conference finals in 97. But they had to do that with piss poor penalty killing because they were one of the worst penalty killing teams that year, even though they had the number 1 power play unit. And I mean, I'm trying to think of who's the guy that had a decent 20 games with them. Vladimir Vorobiev, was that it?
Yeah, Vladimir Vorobiev in 96, 97 came in for a bit, and he put up a bunch of points. So
yeah. But, Phil, we'll go with this one. What would have happened if Joe Sakic came to the New York Rangers, which we both know was never going to happen?
Well, after Neil Smith basically kind of confirmed that, if Sakic comes to the Rangers, we don't know what the compensation exactly would be because the compensation was different back then.
I thought it was 5 first-round draft picks, if I recall correctly.
That, I think, ended up becoming the formula later, depending on the salary, what the salary ended up being. But that just changes everything because then you have Sakic and Gretzky as your 1 and 2. And Joe Sakic's the best player in the world, arguably, around that time after Lemieux retired. You're looking at Yager, you're looking at Sakic, you're looking at Forsberg, Korean, Solani right at the top right there. So you're getting arguably the best player in the world. You can build around that. But the Rangers still didn't understand what defense was. And that was really the issue for those years is that they didn't build up a defense after, aside from Leach. They just did not bring in top quality defenders. Like Bruce Shriver was the last big defensive acquisition they made after they traded Zubov in the deal to Pittsburgh.
Keep in mind, everybody, Ulf Samuelsson was brought in before that.
Ulf Samuelsson was brought in before Driver, yes.
Yes, exactly.
But
just in case if somebody was going to call you on it, Phil.
Yeah, they didn't make a big acquisition to bring anybody in until really to I guess Schneider would be a decent one.
I mean, maybe Matthew Steiner. You want to say maybe Tom Poti?
Malikov. They brought in Malikov thinking that he was going to, help. But
I think it was right after the skiing incident.
Lefebvre. Like, these guys were not – they weren't doing it. Rich Pilon. This wasn't –
Dave Karpa.
What? Dave Karpa?
Dave Karpa.
Was another
Greg
one.
DeVries.
Well, Greg DeVries was actually decent for them. So Kasperitis and DeVries was a pairing in 03-04. And they were actually one of the top pairings in the league in terms of plus minus as a pairing for a while that season. And it just, Holik leading that team in scoring, you weren't going to go anywhere because Lindros was hurt for a good portion of that year. And then Jason Doeg gave him his final concussion as a Ranger. I mean, and this is really it. The early 2000 rosters were terrible.
Well, they were terrible for a different reason, because they were built on star power. There were no role players. Yeah. Nobody knew their role. You had Peter Nedved as a third-line center. That was not going to work. Peter Nedved as a first-line center with Dvorak and Holovic were a great line.
Nedved was a top six center. It's just that they were so.
Messier was the sixth.
Messier was the number 3 center. That's the problem, is that his role should have been reduced after a while. That first year, he was really good. He was their number 2 center behind Nedved, but he should have had his role reduced after that because he clearly fell off.
Wait. Before you do that one, Firestorm also said, "What if Nolan Ryan grabbed Robin Ventura in a headlock and he rushed the mound, one of the best SI covers?" That one, by the way, Phil, wouldn't have happened if Dave Winfield didn't rush the mound and Nolan Ryan was trying to back away from him. And he said, "I will never back down from anyone ever again." And Matador also said, "What if Adam Graves wasn't suspended for slashing Lemieux in the playoffs?"
I don't think that would have changed a whole lot, because the problem is with that series is that Richter was not good.
Richter the Ron Francis goal.
Shot from Francis, and that screwed them. And that was the downfall of that series. Because if you close that series out, the Rangers win the cup, and the curse ends 2 years earlier.
All right, Phil, go with this one. I'll be right back.
Lauren asks, do I think John Cooper will get fired in his next couple of years? No. John Cooper has earned going out on his own terms. Like, Lou Lamoriello is not going to get fired by the Islanders. Anybody thinking that Lou Lamoriello is going to get fired? No. Maybe that's what they say behind the scenes, but it gets announced as a mutual parting of the ways. John Cooper is getting to leave Tampa on his own terms when he wants to. He has done more for that franchise, almost more than anyone, maybe outside of Marty St. Louis or Steven Stamkos. He is one of the 3 most important figures in Tampa Bay hockey history. So he went from their AHL affiliate to their head coach to 2 Stanley Cups and 3 straight Stanley Cup finals and a 62-win season. John Cooper's going down as one of the better coaches of all time when it's all said and done. So he goes on his own terms.
Lauren, I'm going to answer it almost the same way Phil has, and I'll say John Cooper gets to leave when he wants. I actually honestly believe that, because I think they know he knows how to develop talent. I know he knows he knows how to cultivate star talent and get them to work together. And possibly the greatest thing ever to happen to that team, you could argue, was the 2019 upset to Columbus, because once they got upset, that team came back with a fire and a passion that they did. And again, you want to talk about another one of the great things? They go to the playoffs. They face the same team that knocked them out the year before and go to 5 overtimes against them. 5. And they're able to beat them. John Cooper, I honestly think, could do anything. You get those guys that are like John Tortorella. John Tortorella can coach talent. John Tortorella can get guys to buy into a system, and he can get them to win. Obviously, Stanley Cup, number 1 overall seed with the New York Rangers. Look at what he's doing with the Flyers right now. And look what he did with Columbus. Speaking about which, you get guys like Alain Vigneault who can coach some talent and get them to run around, but they sort of have a ceiling. But even though they can win President's trophies, and there's other guys like, say, Pete DeBoer, who can get the job done. John Cooper could do everything. Everything. Yeah, I would hire him as my coach. And if I'm Tampa Bay, it doesn't matter all these guys that are coming up, because the next crop of the core leaves, the next crop of players that are coming up, they're going to be developed pretty well. Brendan Hagel, look at what he's doing.
Brendan Hagel is, you know what? He reminds me of how the Yankees would find guys like Didi Gregorius and Luke Voigt and would turn them into better players there than they were anywhere else. That's what I think of with Brandon Hagel. That's the analogy that I make. But John
Phil,
Cooper,
going with that analogy, John Cooper is able to find your Ricky Ledays, your Shane Spencers, your Scott Proctors, your
Sean Chacon, Aaron Small. Do you want me to? I can go through.
We can go on for
I
a
can
while
go
with
through a
this.
laundry list of those types of guys that for a while had great success with the Yankees and just didn't do anything anywhere else. But yeah, I would say John Cooper is probably going to coach Canada at the Four Nations tournament. He's probably going to coach them if they go back to the Olympics. He's probably going to be Canada's coach there too. I mean, he's one of the top 3 best coaches in the league, like right now. I mean, Tortorella will probably win the Jack Adams for what he's doing this season with the Flyers.
And he should.
But if you ask me, if I want to coach for a 7-game series, I go down to 2 guys if I want them facing off against each other: Cooper and Laviolette.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know what? Lavia will make adjustments. Cooper is the most even-keeled guy, and he does make adjustments. Think about this: the last time his team, and again, I want to preface this and say, his last 2 playoff series that he lost.
That's the only reason why I wouldn't want to play Tampa is Cooper.
Right, and think about him with the Rangers in the conference final 2 years ago.
The scarier part.
Phil, they were down 2-0 midway through Game 3 in a series. They were down 2-0.
Yeah, I think they burned. The Rangers burned out in that series. I think that's part of it. They had a young and less experienced team. I think this is more of a veteran-laden team that understands it now, and I think they're hungry. They're also better now than they were then, and Tampa Bay is also far worse now than they were then.
And stop me if you heard this. Tampa Bay made adjustments. Gerard Gallant did not.
Yeah, Gerard Gallant did not make adjustments.
I would recommend Gerard Gallant for the next team, but when you see that, you can't unsee it, and you will forever be tainted. So I can't help it. Always think about that one. All right, guys, we're gonna take we'll take 2 more questions if you got anyone. Dan Tony. Gerard Gallant's only adjustment was blending his lines. Yeah, I know. Like, it's not just put your guys in a blender. It's just notice what they're doing against you. Basic 101 footage. David is saying it helps to be a great coach when you have an all-time great goalie, Hall of Fame Norris level winner, 2 forwards, Hall of Famers, and a GM who constantly came out on top with trades and steals at the draft. Look, that does help. And by the way, 2 GMs, because let's give credit to Steve Yzerman as well. But the other thing I think to say with that, David, is, look, you also got to do it. Like, you could say this guy doesn't just drop the puck at practice and skate off. He does it. And I really did like what he has done with them, both with their star power and their role players. Everybody shows up to the rink. They know what their job is. They do a great job. Phil, I see 2 questions we need to get to right here. First, let me do with this one from Jeff. Jeff Berkeley.
Yeah, I was going to go highlight.
Yeah, thoughts on Keandre Miller? His play is very up and down these days. What do you think?
I honestly think his play overall as of late has been great. He was terrible last night. He was absolutely terrible last night. The first goal they scored, the Lawton goal, was his coverage. There were 2 other
why
goals
was he doing? Why was he breaking to the other side?
And he stopped doing that a lot after playing with Trouba. I mean, when he got paired with Schneider, when Trouba went out, a lot of that stopped. And it just, last night, he just reverted away from that. He's got to stop doing that. And you know what? He can stop doing, and he's shown that he can play not doing those types of things. But when he gets into that mode of chasing everybody around, that's where everything falls apart. So he's got to stop doing that. The Rangers cannot win if Keandre Miller is puck watching and puck chasing all around the entire defensive zone.
And Phil, going into a specific play years ago from a good run, when he stepped up on, it wasn't Sebastian Aho, it was somebody else. It was Aho's goal that tied game 1. That's the one where he stepped up, Aho went by him, and he was able to tuck it in. That you can't have that happening, especially Kendra Miller, who has played. I think he's played much better since Jacob Trouba's been out. And I'm on record saying it on Twitter and right now. They need to split up Trouba and Miller for the duration of the season. And now you have three good pairs. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But Pete also has given us this one. What's the level of concern about Panarin's postseason production?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Panarin play dominant like this, and then all of a sudden, it just come playoff time, he's been kind of a ghost. I mean, in that bubble in 2020, I know he had 2 points, but one of them was a 5-on-3 goal, and that was basically the team lead in scoring was 2 points. They got trounced by Carolina in that short little series.
I'll go with embarrassed.
Yeah, trounced, embarrassed, destroyed, decimated, whatever. I don't care what word you want to use. It was pathetic. And then 2022. I mean, he technically he had a point per game in that series against Pittsburgh, but he kind of disappeared quite a bit after that. So that's really. And then last year, he looked good in the first 2 games, but he disappeared after that again. So, I mean, he's got to play the way that he's played, and he's got to, especially when the games get tight checking and physical. He's another one. That's like I say, I worry about Quinn Hughes. I do worry about Panarin. I do. I want to see it. Like, I know that have faith, so on. Yeah, I get it. Positive vibes. I get it. But when a guy has a knack for disappearing in the postseason, there's cause for concern. So show me. That's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to say, show me. Show me what you have.
And Phil, going with your thinking right there.
This is actually a good point, though. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's actually a great point because he hasn't had that in the past. Because Strome, another one, disappears in the playoffs.
Wait a minute. Colin Blackwell didn't give him space?
Colin Blackwell didn't make the playoffs with the Rangers.
Anyway, I know, but Colin Blackwell, the greatest Ranger to ever don the jersey, if you ask some people.
What is with you and that? It's like Cam Talbot, Colin Blackwell. What other names?
Because when I hear about players that are leaving, and that fans on Twitter especially are going, "Oh, I can't believe he's gone." Are you kidding me, Colin Blackwell? Just cry for Daniel Gano while you're at it. Anyway, but going to this,
Gano is a great reference.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of guys that have appeared and disappeared. Everybody gets their 15 minutes on Broadway eventually. But going to this question, though, Panarin seems to have addressed the problems that he has had in postseason play. Because if you notice, he's attacking the house. He's attacking the middle of the ice.
Yes.
And he's doing that a lot more. Now, I forgot which coach said it on NHL Network radio this week. Great quote. What's the thing about Panarin? He has the best tired legs. That when other guys get tired, Panarin still
white-haired, silver-haired looking coach.
Might have been.
If that's the case, it's Kevin Constantine that you're referencing.
Yeah, and look, I as Lauren said, look, have faith in Panarin because after all, Phil. We've seen a guy rewrite his story in New York, failure, and then suddenly Alex Rodriguez has a great World Series. Could have been World Series MVP if not for Hideki Matsui.
Should have been World Series MVP. I listen, Matsui gave them that one great game, but where is Matsui the rest of that series?
Yeah, that great game 6.
6, I think it was with like 6 RBI game.
Yeah. I think he had a couple. He had a home run off of Pedro Martinez. We're throwing in a lot of other sports there, everybody.
The media was just never going to give Alex Rodriguez the World Series MVP unless he could unanimously force the voters to give him it.
I think it was the 9th inning off of Brad Lidge. He had that huge hit with the bases loaded.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, got to give credit where credit's due. But where I'm going at that is you don't hear people talk about Alex Rodriguez as a failure anymore.
No,
and
I get it. And another thing that I'm going to say regarding Panarin is that in the past with Gallant and Quinn is those coaches were unable to make the adjustments and not only just in their systems, in the way that the teams operate, but to get players to play certain ways when the games got like that. So I think that Peter Laviolette is going to go ahead, and when like Panarin gets into that type of situation, he's going to be able to tell him the things to do to get out of those funks, to get past those guys, to say, hey, you know what? Give this guy a different wrinkle. Do this differently. Because then they're going to look at you at like, oh, you know, what the hell? And they're not going to have an answer. What are you looking at, Pete's comment?
Yeah, I'm checking what that game is. Ottawa's up 3-0 over the Sabres. It's over the Sabres.
Yeah, the Sabres don't have a chance in the playoffs. They were done before this, but they're going to be done after tonight anyway. So
Mama always said the Sabres are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I mean,
okay, Forrest. Okay.
But by the way, I think also this is the difference between a coach that knows X's and O's better than and has a system in place. Laviolette seems to always know the buttons to push. I mean, the guy's made the playoffs with every single team he's ever coached. He took Carolina to the Stanley Cup Finals. He took Philadelphia to the Stanley Cup Finals Game 6. He took the Islanders to Game 7 of the first round in 2001. That was like the Stanley Cup Finals back then. John D. Lee, take it easy. I looked at it. By the way, it's funny. When I was first learning how to skate, they used to call me Forrest. But
that's how you know Marc was a bad run skater.
Well, also that and I was just a sprinter. I was just straight line the entire time. Still playing and still trying to go strong. All right, but I can spell run. All right.
Oh man.
And Where for Life is saying, do you think Rampy is get in the starting lineup come playoff time? Phil.
I think he might see some games. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I think he's a decent fourth liner. I wonder about his skating. I still think it needs to be improved in order for him to really be trusted in the playoffs. But I do think that there's going to be times where Laviolette's going to throw a wrinkle and throw him in the lineup and be like, okay, you know what? Here we go. We need a physical element. And I think Pete may be right about this. I mean, when you need an adjustment, maybe they bring him in, and I think they shake things up and try to get the physical play going. So maybe that's something that they would do. But again, all great teams bring in those black ace type players, and they end up winning. Like, look at the 94 Rangers. They had a squad of 5 guys that they literally called the Black Aces.
Black Aces,
they brought them in throughout the playoffs, and they helped them at times, and they won.
Well, whether it was Kyprios or Olchek or even Glenn Huey that they turned to at one point,
or Lidster, or
I mean Peter Anderson pointing up to the healthy scratches, the Black Aces. By the way, I do have to say this one, Ev, my skating is better than my spelling and much better, even though I'm a rotting 45-year-old corpse.
Oh my God, amazing. Oh,
so there's a little bit of dramatics. All right. Well, 4-0, 8 minutes in. So apparently Ottawa decided to show up tonight.
Buffalo's given up. Yeah, Buffalo is a big disappointment because I thought they were going to take a step this year, and they just totally regressed. They didn't get the goaltending they needed from Levi. Tage Thompson, career year. What's going on with him? It's a whole lot of bad in Buffalo right now.
Artem Zub scored.
Yeah, that's not somebody you want scoring on you. Tage Thompson, 45 points in 61 games this year after 47 goals and 94 points last year with Buffalo. Jeez. You're going to talk about regression. That's some Jonathan Huberdeau, not Justin Huberdeau type regression.
Might as well be Justin Huberdeau.
Yeah, you know what? Marc actually gets a point there. Might as well be Justin Huberdeau.
Phil, let me let you yell at me for a second. A week after saying that UPL could be a franchise goalie, 4 goals on 6 shots.
Thinking there, man.
He had great numbers. I was trying to get a talking point. That's what I was trying to get.
God.
I want to go around the league. We go around the league with in the NHL.
You muted yourself.
So let's wrap this one up right here, guys.
Yeah.
Things. No, you don't want to see me play basketball, Matt. I am quite terrible at basketball. I can shoot a long range.
By design.
It was by design.
Yeah, it was by design. Yeah, of course.
And how are we always going to talk about this? All right, wait. Last year, wait. How about this one?
Buffalo said no to that last year. I still think Buffalo says no to that.
Yeah, I still think Buffalo says no. If you pan out the rest of his contract,
yeah.
Buffalo says no.
Jason Robertson's regression is not as great as you're making it. He had a 100-point season. He's still about a point per game player. So I mean, it's really he's 74 points in 73 games right now for Robertson.
So does someone hit 100 points this year in the NFL, but no one can tackle? You know what? Maybe.
What does this even mean? I'm not really.
All right. Well, the NFL banned what was called the hip drop tackle. That's where you get behind the guy, you wrap your hands around him, and as you're falling on him, you're taking out. You're almost laying on his back leg. And what it does is it promotes a lot of high ankle sprains when you do that. So
Sidney Crosby injury.
Yeah, sort of like that. So in the NFL, I don't think anybody's going to handle the point. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody hits 100 points in the next 10 years because they're outlawing defense entirely. That's a different story. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up right here. Everybody, thanks for coming on. We had a nice, good stream today, about an hour and 41 minutes. And we got a lot of stuff to do. Yeah, new kickoff rules because, unfortunately, the kickoff. Phil, do you remember when I was a teenager, you were a kid? Every team had a great kickoff returner. So,
I remember Devin Hester lighting up the league and guys like Chad Morton and stuff like that. And it's.
But even that, the Giants had Dave Meggett. I'm trying to remember.
You're going a little more before my time with football because
Mel Gray
for
the Detroit Lions. Our buddy Nick would love that. But I mean, look, I hope it's just as good. And Lauren, spread the word around about us.
I promoted that on one of Lauren's posts on Twitter. So that's I promoted her. I promoted us. I promoted Rangers Central. I promoted Statboy Stevens' Rangers review, which I was unaware because I hadn't watched in a while, but I was unaware that Tyler was no longer on that show because he had to go in a different direction. But
probably because his baseball's taken off.
Yeah. Dante Hall was another one that I remember. I mean, Vi Sikahema, I don't remember.
Vi Sikahema was the Eagles.
Okay. I remember Antoine Randall L doing like everything because he was a Swiss Army knife.
But I mean, there are so many of these great players that always did that. And John Radigan mentioned Ron Dixon. And it wasn't Phil.
I remember Dominic Hickson used to take kicks for the Giants, and he wasn't actually bad at it either.
Yeah, unfortunately, the one guy that wanted to take kicks for the Giants that every Giant fan wished never did was Jason Sehorn.
Don't remind me.
Don't worry, I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself. Fortunately, I'm not dating myself anymore. So it gets even better. Why is it that I keep getting this question for something else? Yeah,
I think that the Yankees make it. I'm unsure about the Mets, but the Yankees I think make it. I want to punch Hal Steinbrenner though. I'll tell you that.
I agree with you. Hal Steinbrenner could have
really helped out this team. So many things that they could have had that they missed out on because Hal Steinbrenner's too worried about a luxury tax. I'm sorry. Don't ever tell me that you're going all in again, and then you don't make big moves that you need to make. Then Soto is your one big move, and that's it. Like, no, that's not all in. That's distraction tactic version 5,688 because Cashman and Hal do this every year. Tired of it.
All right. Yeah, no, guys, I got to run. I got a previous commitment I got to make. And unfortunately, we're going to have to cut that short right here. So, yeah. So, again, everybody, thanks for joining us this week. Next week, we are doing playoff matchups. Who says no to them? I didn't want to do it without Anthony because I would love to get his input on a lot of these. And especially one more week, you can figure out what teams don't want to be in what other matchups. Because I'll tell you right now, Phil, I wouldn't want Tampa.
I'm not worried about them that much. I mean, are they a team that I would willingly face? I mean, I'd rather face Washington than Tampa. I'd rather face Philadelphia than Tampa. But, I mean, if they can't beat Tampa, then they don't deserve to win the Stanley Cup. And that's what it comes down to for me.
That is what it comes down to. Because that's the thing. We talked about it with the Rangers schedule. And I talked about it with my lovely wife-to-be, that when you looked at that tough schedule in March, you have to beat those teams because you're better than them. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, again, thank you very much. We're going to skip bye tonight, and we will talk to you soon. Keep promoting us and looking for our clips on YouTube during the week. Thank you very much. Have a great night, guys.
Take care, everybody. Let's go Rangers.
I want to say we're clear, but it doesn't say it yet.
No, it doesn't.
Still says ending stream.